Hello everyone, my name is Giselle, my pronouns are they, them, and welcome to a very late Flosstube. I have not uploaded since I think October, so this is my first one this year, and it is, as I said, very late. So I'm going to start out with updating you on all the projects that I've stitched this year, and then I might talk about some other things at the end of the video. So I'm going to do my typical stat breakdown. This time I'm gonna go projects that have the most amount of work to least amount of work. So if you end up getting bored, you can kind of tap out for the ones that only have like an hour's worth of progress on them. I have stitched on a few things that have a lot of progress and then a lot of things that have a little bit of progress. But really quick before that, I just want one, I want to say thank you everybody who is returning. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the community and just again, thank you so much. And then the second thing is that last year I ended up finishing the Lady of Shalott, but I never posted about it on my channel. So really quick, I wanted to show you that I did finish it. Sorry, the lighting is kind of crap on my tablet, but there it is, all finished. I finished it last year, so I'm not gonna include it in like my stats or anything because there's gonna be a gap of stitching time for this video. I'm only gonna talk about the things that I've stitched on this year, and everything that was stitched from like October to the end of December is just left in a void, never to be heard about again, at least those stats. And finally, I'm just going to do like a quick talk about my stitching before I get into the actual projects. So for my stitching, I have stitched roughly like 43,271 stitches out of like the projects that are in Pattern Keeper. It's definitely more than that because I do have a few projects that are not in Pattern Keeper. It's probably a couple thousand more than that, but not like tens of thousands or anything. And then as far as my time spent, because that is the thing that I track the most, I have spent 193 hours stitching so far this year, which is a lot of time. I'm not gonna pretend that it's not, but it's not as much time as I spent last year, because so far my total I think is about like an hour, and my average is about an hour and 40 minutes, an hour, or like 1.4 is my average, which is like what, like an hour and 20 minutes a day or something. And my average for last year was like 1.9. So my average was a lot higher last year. So I have been stitching less this year than last year. Anyway, and I thought I would also just show maybe like my stat breakdown a little bit. Yeah, it's not showing the months, but will it show this way? No, it's not. But on here you can see these are the months this year. So I didn't stitch like at all in February, and then my time is going back up. So I've already stitched as much this month as I did in March. So I'm getting back into the groove of stitching, and then like I said, a few projects a lot, and then a lot of projects a little bit. Okay, now let's get into the actual stitching. So we're going to start off with the projects that I've spent a lot of time on. So the first project, the project that I've spent the most on is Contessa with Squid. So this is by, the version that I have is from Heaven and Earth Designs. I've spent 30 hours on it so far this year. It's been 15.53% of my stitching time, but Heaven and Earth Designs no longer owns the copyright to Omar Rayon's pieces, who is the artist, and so Unconventional X-Stitch now has this piece and has charted their own. So if you wanted to buy your own and stitch your own, you can get it from Unconventional X-Stitch. And that is what they look like. and this is my progress on it. I'm not going to have any before pictures, but if you remember, then good for you. Okay, and this is what it's looking like right now. So I definitely got spoiled by like the big chunks of black stitching on this, because throughout these tentacles I have the max color version. There have been like quite a few, like there's only one stitch of this color, there's only one stitch of this color in this section, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, I think Heaven and Earth Designs, I think a lot of their standard colors, like 83 or 90 colors, like isn't quite enough detail for me. But then like 150 is like too much. I'm like, I want a happy medium, like 140 colors or something. Anyway, it's looking really beautiful so far. I have spent, so far this year, I've stitched 8,685 stitches. My total is 24,764 stitches. And I'm 6.74% of the way through it. There we go. In total, I've spent 71 hours on it, so almost a half of the amount of time, because I've spent 30 hours on it this year. Almost a half of the time has been just this year. And I'm probably not going to go over start dates unless I started them this year. But for this one, it is interesting that I started it. It's coming up on its 2-year anniversary. I started it in June 16th of 2023. And I barely stitched in it 2023. I stitched on it a little bit more 2024, and then I put almost half of the work into it this year. I had this grand plan at the beginning of the year that I was going to stitch on it for an hour every day, and January was a very, very bad month mentally for me, and this piece almost broke me. On top of just like everything that was happening in the world and in the country and everything, I was just like, this piece was driving me crazy, and I just could not handle it. Okay, so my next piece is the Templar Prophecy. This is a long dog sampler. I've spent 29 hours on it. It's been 14.95% of my stitching time. So these two are like neck and neck for how much time I've been spending on them. This is what it looks like. And I'm not doing the two borders on this side or at the top. They just didn't look fun to stitch for me. I did leave enough fabric, so if I want to go back and do them, I can. But so far this year, here it is. And I'm stitching this in a Silks for you. But so far this year, I have spent, hopefully that looks good, 5,481 stitches, and my total is 12,324 stitches, and I am 20.52%, and yeah, that's how it's going. It's going very well. I should be a little bit further along, just because I started this for Long Dog Leap Days out, so I should be getting a quarter of this done by Leap Day, by February 28th every year. We've already passed February 28th this year, so I should be over 25%. But since I'm not doing those size borders, I do have a little bit of flexibility, but I really do want to get to like the 50% mark by next February. So I'm thinking about how I want to get caught up and like get this into a weekly rotation to work just a little bit on it every week, so I don't get really far behind and then stressed out and then sad. Also, this piece in general just gives me, sometimes I can stitch on it for like 2 or 3 hours straight and have no issue, and then sometimes I get such like choice paralysis even when I first pick it up, because there's just so many places you can stitch, and it just like breaks my brain. Sometimes I just need like the full coverage where you're just like, I'm just gonna stitch here and you just like choose the highest point and then you just stitch it. And I don't know, full coverage is so much easier for my brain than this kind of stitching, which is so funny because I bet a lot of people would disagree with that sentiment. But for my brain, full coverage stitching is so much easier than this. This has broken my brain on many chords. Sometimes so many times I've picked it up, put it into my stand, and then just sat there for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes just staring at it, and then just admit defeat that it's too much for my brain, and I put it back and choose something else. Because it's not that I'm not in the mood to stitch, that I don't have the energy to stitch, it's just that I don't have the energy for a piece that gives me such decision fatigue. Anyway, too much information. I need to like pick up the pace. Okay, my next piece is Welcome to Erebor. This is by Country Magic Stitch. Their name has a by at the beginning, B-Y. And this is, let's see. This looks like this. It's one of those like movie posters. Not movie posters, sorry, travel posters. And this is coming along very well. I have a date that I want to get this finished by. So I've been stitching on it a lot this year. And it is just like the easiest stitching because it's just big blocks of color. I'm doing this on a 28 count. And it's just very relaxing and very fun to my brain. This has one of my highest like stitch averages, like stitches per hour. But so far I've done 7,168 stitches this year, and my total is at 17,471 stitches, and I am at 77.55%. I have less than a quarter to go, and I am trying to get this finished by mid-June, because I would like this to be like a little anniversary gift for my husband, and our anniversary is at the end of June, so I'm giving myself a little bit of wiggle room, although I don't know if we'll get it framed by our anniversary. Seems like a little bit of a tough ask because I frame most of our stuff most of my pieces from like frames from the thrift store, and I don't know, maybe it would go into like a 3x5 or something. It's actually quite small. Anyway, it's stitching up very nice. My average is 415 stitches per hour. So I can just really whip this out because I'm doing half stitch, and it's just big blocks of color, and it's just so mindless and fun for me. I only need to spend like 12 more hours on it to get it finished. So I need to only do a couple hours a week to get that done. Anyway, it's really fun. And I have in total spent 17 hours and 33 minutes on that this year. It's been 9% of my stitching time. Okay, my next one is Sunflower Ghost. I have spent 14 hours and 45 minutes on this, and it has been 7.63% of my stitching time. This is from Oh My Stitches shop. Here, let me pull up the picture. I don't know what I'm doing. I am thinking I'm not going to do the black frame because I'm going to frame it. So like, I don't need the black frame, but also my husband really likes the black frame. And whenever I say I'm not going to stitch the black frame, sorry, the lighting's going wild. He's always like, no, I love the black frame. But I could just try to find a cool black frame to put it in. Although the size is very peculiar. Anyway, this is from Oh My Stitches shop on Etsy. And so far, I've stitched on this a lot this year. It's one of my oldest projects, and I just really have been wanting to spend a lot of time on it. But the percentage is including the black, so I'm a lot further along than the percentage is leading to believe, since I haven't marked that off. So far this year I've spent 2,694 stitches. Out of the total, my total is 4,224 stitches. So over half of my work on this that I have done this year. The total for the pattern is 8,331 stitches, but again, I'm not going to do all of those. But it's such an odd shape, I don't know if something would look good unless I have a mat. And I've never framed anything with a mat. Like, would I get that custom done? I don't know if I care about this pattern enough for it to get a custom mat. Anyway, it's at 50.7%. So there's no way there's actually that much left without the black. And yeah, I guess that's it. But yeah, I started this in February of 2023, so definitely one of my oldest. And I'm really proud of how much time I've spent on that this year. And I just call it Sunflower Ghost. It came in a big pack of a bunch of different projects. And I just really hustled my butt on that. I was like, I need to get work done on this. Okay, my next project is called Halloween Pumpkin Cottage. I have spent 12 hours. Sorry, I'm like trying to find the picture of it. 12 hours and 16 minutes on it. It's been 6.35% of my stitching time. The percentage just keeps plummeting. But that is what it looks like. And you can see the shop name. Studio and Citru. Anyway, if you like this style, you would love their shop. So much cute cross-stitch designs. Anyway, I absolutely fell in love with this. I started it last year or this year? Wait, now my brain is breaking. I think it was last year. Yeah, I started last year, October 20th. But I started it at my sister's house, which is why I was confused, because I visited her I visited her in October, that's right. But I also saw her in January, so I was like, wait, when did I start this? Anyway, that's how far I am through, and I'm really proud of myself. I've spent a good amount of time on this year, like I've already said, and I just have really gotten sucked into it. So far I've spent 2,092 stitches on this so far this year, and out in total I've done 4,412 stitches. So half of my progress on this has just been in the last couple months. But the colors on this are just like so vibrant and beautiful, and it's been just very fun and satisfying to stitch. And so far I'm 19.61% of the way through. So really, if I just buckled down, this would be such a fast stitch, but I haven't done that. Of course I haven't done that. Who do you think I am? Anyway, beautiful project. And I'm so excited to get to the pumpkins, but the way that I'm stitching this from the top left down, the pumpkins are going to be the last thing I stitch, so it's very sad. Oh well. Okay, the next project is the Everyday Witches Familiar. This is from Unconventional X-Stitch. The artist is Jessica Alba. And this is the dog version. There's a cat version, but this is the dog version. And I'm more of a cat person, but I thought the dog version was more beautiful. And I've started up in this corner. And so far, I have stitched on it this year for 5.17% of my time, and it was 10 hours is how much I stitched on this year. But I stitched on it a lot at the end of last year because I bought this right after the unconventional fire, like a couple days, like I think the day after the unconventional fire. I think I probably heard CrossStitcher talking about the unconventional fire, and I was like, I need to go buy something. And so there we are. I have been stitching on it. Ooh, the lighting just changed and you can really see the detail. But this has been really fun to stitch. It's very satisfying. It's very beautifully charted. It's good fun. And again, I've been doing more intense diagonals, and I don't think they're for me. So I'll loosen up my diagonals, finish the strands out, because that's just happier for my brain to have less parked stitches. But it's been so fun to stitch on. Like I said, I've done 10 of my hours this year. In total, I've spent 49 hours on it. So I've done 2,334 stitches this year, and so far 11,854 stitches. I'm 8.53% of the way through this, so creeping up to that 9%. It would be very nice to finish this in the next few years, but that probably will not happen with all the full coverages that I have and I'm working on, including this next one, which I just started. The aforementioned sister, I asked her to choose a cross stitch that I could stitch for her, and I was giving her some big full coverages to look at, not like huge, but I know she really likes the artist Isaac Asimov. Oh my gosh. You can tell that I am a sci-fi reader. Ooh, that is not what I meant to say. Leonid Asimov. I know she really likes his art, and so I know that Artisy had some like smaller full coverages from him that maybe she would like. It's not like she was giving me few. Okay, I feel like I'm saying this all wrong. I was like, I would love if you choose something for me to stitch for you, and she was like, I don't know what to choose. And I was like, what about some full coverages? And she was like, oh, those seem too big. And I was like, what about these smaller full coverages? That's what I mean. I know they had some smaller full coverages, like around like 20,000 stitches, which for me, who is stitching things that are like 300,000 stitches, or the one I just gave to my mom that took me a year and a half to finish was like 70,000 stitches. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally do like 20,000. This is less than that even. But I asked her to look at them and see if she would want me to stitch one for her. And she said yes. She very ever so graciously is allowing me to stitch her this beautiful piece. And so I am, and it is great. Okay, that's what I meant to say. I feel like I'm out of practice and I'm not doing well. Okay, anyway, this is it. It's called A Stroll Under the Rain. It's a mini by Artisy. And Artisy's charting is very nice. This is my first Artisy piece, and I love the charting. It is so fun to stitch. Ugh, it's so great. The total piece is 17,850 stitches. And one of the fun things that is very fun to stitch about this piece is this is not my kind of art style at all. Like, I would never hang this in my house, even though I think it's a beautiful piece of art. It is just not my aesthetic. Like, I'm very like mushroom core, like cottage core, just like hobbit core, like very gremlin aesthetic. And this is like way too modern and bright and everything for me. So I'm like, I can appreciate that it's beautiful art, but I would never hang it in my home, so I would never stitch it for myself. So it's like really fun getting to stitch something so bright and fun and beautiful when it's like not in my art style at all. It's been so fun. Anyway, that's all I'm trying to say. And I've barely spent any time on it, but I've done a good amount. I've only spent 8 hours and 40 minutes on it. It's been 4.5% of my stitching time, and I'm already 8.79% of the way through. So it's a very quick stitch Like, it should only take me 100 hours to finish the rest of the thing. Which, like, I know sounds like a lot, but honestly, it's not that much. Like, I've already, like, if I stitched on this for 2 hours a week, like, I would, like, it's just, like, it breaks down very easily, in my opinion. Anyway, this has been so fun to stitch. I haven't picked it up since the spring mingle, because I did go to the spring mingle and I started a lot of new things at the spring mingle. I started this right before the spring mingle, so I stitched all of this in the couple days before spring mingle. Spring mingle started, I started a bunch of things during spring mingle, and then I haven't gone back to this, but I'm definitely going to very soon because so fun and I love all the colors. Okay, I need to move on. But so far I have stitched 1,569 stitches. Okay. My next project I cannot share with you because it is a secret as a gift later this week. So in my next update, I will pull it out and show it to you. But just know that I spent 8 hours on it, and it was 4.29% of my stitching time. So I had to finish. Oh shoot, I clicked on something. How do I go back? Okay, that was fine. Okay, so my next one is one of the ones that I started right after the spring mingle. But I've already done so much on it because it has been so fun. This is for a different sister. Oof. And I left all this on there. I thought about cutting it off to be more presentable to you. But honestly, I just want to show you about the gremlin I am. So, I'm not trying to hide and show that I'm someone that I'm not. Okay, so this is from Sunset and Sea Design. It's a Monet water lily. I feel like it doesn't look as great in the pixel art, but it's really, really beautiful. I think these are incredibly designed and charted pieces. I really, really like them. And so far this year, I only started it on the 5th. Today is the 12th for context. Although I haven't stitched on it in a couple days. And so far, I have stitched 6.5 hours on it. It's been 3.41% of my stitching. And it's nearly done. I'm 85.66% of the way. It is very fast, although I'm stitching this one. I've stitched some others, other like masterpiece minis, other like art minis, other similar ones, other Monet minis, and this has been the fastest. So I'm not guaranteeing that it will stitch up as fast for you, but it has been very fast. The whole thing is only 2,420 stitches, and so far I'm 2,073 stitches through. So I just need to buckle down, spend 1 more hour on it, and I'll be finished. But this is it so far. And isn't that just the most precious thing? I asked a different sister if I could stitch something for her, and she was having a very hard time with that. Being like, oh, I don't know. She's like, I just want something small. I don't want you to have to spend time on it. So I think she'll be very relieved to know that it only took 7 hours. But I'm going to do a couple for her because I'm like, no, I want to spend time on you. Anyway, I think she will love it. And I loved stitching it. This was so fun. I just got absorbed. I did this in like 2 days, I think. And I was parking because I didn't feel like some of them was like over here and then wasn't needed till over here. And I was like, well, I don't feel like stopping my thread and starting it again. But I also don't feel like trusting my counting, so I'm just going to park it over there and hope it works out. And it did. Anyway, there's just a little bit left. And then all my ends that need to be cut off, as I normally do. Anyway, I really recommend this shop and their designs. And then this is the very first full coverage I ever tried to do, back in, I had started stitching January 2022. This was either February, this was probably February 2022, maybe March. And I tried to stitch this on 28 count, 2 over 1, full cross. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't watched hardly any Flosstube. This thing can like, it is the thickest thing. And I was like, oh no, I'll push through, I can keep doing it. Like the threads were literally snapping as I was pulling through. Like they were, like the friction was just ripping the, like we talk about like our threads like getting torn up as they go through. Like no, actually the threads were snapping in half. And it was, it was such a disaster. I think this is how it looked. Anyway, so I abandoned it and I cut off the bit and started and like use that. But then I had these extra bits and I've cut them all off and used them for smaller projects. But even this little scrap, I was like, I can use this for small projects too. I am very frugal with my fabric. I was like, if I can, however many projects I can squeeze out of this, I will. And I love 28 count. If you have any 28 count that you're like, oh, I bought this and I hate it and I don't want to use it, however small your piece is, I will buy that from you. I will buy it from you. Don't you worry. Or you're like, oh, I finished this piece and now I have like 6 inches left over. Well, this is what, like maybe 4, and I'm making it work, so I will buy your scraps from you. So anyway, I will buy your scraps of 28 count for you. I don't know if I necessarily want 25 count. I've never stitched 25 count full cross. And I don't know if I really, or full cross for full coverage. And I don't know if I really want to, but this has been so fun. Okay, time to move on. But I just thought it was funny. And this is how I was stitching on it. And I thought before I got on here, should I cut this off so you don't see how I live? And then I was like, I'm sure a lot of you would probably appreciate this. Because honestly, it's pretty funny. I don't know, man. Okay, next project. This has been such a treat, this next project that I'm about to talk about. So, Nature's Journey. I have spent 6 hours and 14 minutes on it. It's been 3.23% of my stitching time. And I only started it 2 days ago. When I stitch on it later today, after I'm done filming, this will be my 3rd day stitching on it. I'm currently on the spring section, but I didn't watch any Flosstube in like January, February, March. I started getting back into it in April. So when I found out about this, the scream I scrumped, I ordered some fabric for it, and then when I got here, I started stitching. And I love this so much. So I've started up in the spring section. And this is just one of the most beautiful dang things I ever have seen. I love it so much. Sprouting Lupine, I think, is just a brilliant designer. And this has been so pleasurable. Anyway, this is how far I am through it. So yeah, I think it's stitching up pretty fast. I don't have any stats on it because I'm stitching from a paper chart. This was in just CrossStitch. So you'd have to get all 4 just cross stitches, the spring, summer, autumn, or I don't know if they call it autumn or fall, and winter editions for 2025 in order to get this. There's only the first 2 out, so the spring and summer are out. But my hopes are to get this caught up by midsummer, and then I can start the second one on midsummer, the summer one, so I don't feel too behind. So I need to complete 3 squares of the chart every day. But so far I've only stitched on it 2 days and I've already completed 18, or actually I think it's 20 now, squares of the chart. So I think we're okay. I think I'll be able to do 3 a day. I redid the math and it's like 2.5 a day. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is so doable. It's just so fun to stitch. And also I have to tell you about this fabric. So it is 20, not 20. Well, it's the equivalent of 23 count because it's a 46 count and I'm stitching over 2, stitching 1 over 2. One, I think the coverage is really good. I am one who stresses about the coverage, and I think it's really good. Also, this is the way I stitch. I have my grime guard. I stuff my scissors in, so all my scissors are these ones with the little sheath. So I never stab my fabric. So these are my favorite scissors. I don't use any other kind of scissors because I keep them on my thing so I never lose them. And then I have my needle minder. And then if I'm using a paper chart, I just fold it up and tuck it right here so that I can see this section that I'm working from. And that is how I stitch, in case you're wondering. And this is just the Nurge hoop. This is a size 2, but also I use a size 3. Those are the 2 sizes I use the most. But I use all the sizes. Very rarely do I use a 4 because they're just too big, and I have T-Rex arms. They're very short, so a lot of times the 4s just feel way too big and I feel like I can't reach what is in. So anyway, but this fabric, it is from, I was looking for the tag. It should be on the table, but I don't know where I've placed things. So let me just grab this if I can. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I bumped you. Okay, here it is. So it is from this company called Vintage Needle Arts. Just making sure none of my information is showing. And it says, our fabric has a right side and a wrong side. The right side is smoother, and the wrong side, it doesn't say anything about that one. We add a textile medium that helps our fabric / trim remain color fast after washing. However, please keep in mind that we do not retest every fabric or trim after we dye, blah, 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 blah. When I got this fabric, I was floored. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, I wouldn't be saying this unless I actually didn't unless I actually like the fabric, which is why I'm saying it, but it was just the most bizarre thing. It looked like, so the right side, beautiful, lovely, I really like it. I'm stitching on it. It's a very nice fabric. It's not schlubby and uneven and weird. And I think the colors are really beautiful. They're not very variegated. They're not very blotchy and crazy colors and stuff. It's just if you want a huge variety of colors with just a huge, well, almost a variegation of colors. It's just you can get so many different a color range of fabric, but they're not heavily dyed with you know what I'm trying to say. I hope you do. I think they're great. And they also share, you can also buy for $1 little color cards and swatches of fabric. And this is what I'm talking about. So they dye colors that are very similar, but just slightly darker, slightly more warm, slightly more yellow, slightly everything. So I bought the color that I thought would be the best for this, but also for a few extra dollars, I threw on ones that could be comparable, just in case this one didn't work, and then I would be able to buy what was best instead. And I just think that's great. I wish more companies sold swatches for $1. So that's what I mean. They just have a wide variety of staples of solid color fabrics. But when I got this fabric, I was looking at the other side, and it literally looks, whatever they put on their fabric to like make it color fast or to stabilize it, it looks like it was put outside and run over by a car. It is the weirdest thing. It was like looked splotchy and dirty and so weird. And I washed it before I did it just because it looked so weird, and it definitely did like lighten that. You can't see that it's like very splotchy on the back now, just a tiny bit. But it was the most bizarre thing that I ever did see. And you can see like a little bit on these, like that it's just like very textural. And then this is the right side, and then this is like the back with the textural side. Anyway, it was just the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was just like, what is happening on the back of this fabric? And then when I washed it, it toned down. But I really liked the fabric. It was just the most interesting experience I've ever seen. So if you've tried vintage needle arts, I would love to know what you thought of that fabric, or if you ended up liking it. But I really liked it, and I love so much that they have swatches. I want to buy a few more swatches every time I order from them, because I just think it's handy as hell. But anyway, this is the love of my life that I want to stitch on every day. I just got so absorbed. I stitched all of this. Most of this I stitched in one day, and then I stitched a little bit more. But I've only spent 6 hours on it, and I feel like it's stitching up very quickly. Okay, I talk so much. I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh, and I still have so much to go through. Okay, a perfect sphere. This is... I have spent 5 hours, so see, we're still on ones that I've spent like a good amount of time on. So I've spent 5 hours and 23 minutes. It's been 2.79% of my stitching time. And this one is... The full thing is supposed to look like this. It is from Thread Geeks. The artist is Ravenscroft. And I have cropped it to look like this, because I didn't want to stitch the whole body. I just wanted it a little bit smaller. Anyway, and this is what it looks like. So it's coming along. I love it. I've only spent... I guess this one is not stitching up super fast, because I've only done 995 stitches on it so far this year. But I think there has been a lot of confetti. This is my first ever stitch from Thread Geeks, and that is something I will say. There's been a lot of confetti. Also, my back on this thing looks wild. And it's very thick. Like, there's just been a lot of... This has been an interesting piece to stitch up, but I have like enjoyed it, and I think it's stitching up fairly quickly. But in total, I've stitched 18,000 stitches on it exactly. And it should take me about 70 hours left to stitch it. And I don't actually have my real percentage on this. I don't like to count when I've like marked something off. I don't like to count that bit because it makes me feel like I'm cheating. So out of the section that I intend to stitch, I've stitched 48.59%. So I've stitched almost 50% of the section that I hope to stitch. But if you mark off your stitches and then count that, I don't think you're cheating. It's just a me thing. I don't know. It's just a mental thing. I like to know exactly what I've stitched. And it's mostly for my chart, because then I like to like have how much I stitched, and it would affect my like stitches per hour. I don't know. Okay, my next one is the Devil. Oh, you know what? I'm a dirty liar who lies. Because I said that was my first Thread Geeks, but actually this was my first thread Geeks. So this is the devil. The illustrator on this is the artist on this is A. Scythe. The Witch King. And this year, this is like, it's wild to me that, like, the other one, this is kind of why I like to track time over stitches, because it's like, I've spent the same amount of time on these. Well, not really. I've spent a little bit more time on a perfect sphere. But I spent 5 hours and 23 minutes on a perfect sphere. I spent 5 hours and 5 minutes on the devil. And I've done twice as many stitches almost. I did 995 stitches on a perfect sphere. And on the devil, I've done 1,754 stitches. And I'm at exactly 10%. It just stitches much faster because this one has way less confetti. Well, and also that's probably because I'm stitching in sections where there is less confetti. But that is just, I don't know. It is interesting. But my stitch count, like, per hour is significantly higher on this. Like, on the other one, my average stitches per hour on a perfect sphere is I can do 268 stitches on average per hour. And on this one, I can do 336 stitches on average per hour. So, like, I'm stitching significantly faster on this one than on the other one. And that shows in the stitch count, even though technically I've put more effort into the other one because I've stitched longer on it. I just think it's interesting. And that's why it's like doing like a stitch amount. Like, stitch 100 stitches a day on something doesn't work as well for, like, me personally as, like, we'll stitch half an hour a day on it. Because for some pieces, that's 250 stitches, and then for some pieces, that's 50 stitches. Because it really depends on so many factors. Anyway, you probably don't care. Or maybe you do. I love this kind of thing and I think about it all the time. Okay, the next piece I am actually going to skip because it is something that I do not want to talk about right now. But the next thing after that is a yearly calendar. So this is something I started at the end of last year, but I mean, a yearly calendar is gonna take me like 6 years to finish. But I did buy this on Etsy. I've spent 3 hours and 30 minutes on it so far this year. And I started stitching in the March one. Why did I start stitching on the March one? Well, because I wanted to stitch a sheep. And you might ask, why did I want to stitch a sheep? Because I had bought some whisper floss. And that's what they use to stitch Santa's beard and a lot of, like, samplery type things and Santa stitches. And I wanted to use that to stitch sheep. So I bought some and I stitched a little sheep. So here's what I've stitched. And I don't know if you, oh yeah, you can see it sideways when my little sheep is fluffy. Anyway. Here's what it's looking like. I don't know if I love the colors. I don't know. I've been stitching with random hand dyes. I've been like choosing them and putting them in. And I think maybe that's why I've kind of taken such a backseat on it. It's like, because I love some of them and then I don't love some of them. I love the way they look, like the pooling, but I don't necessarily love the combination of colors. So, anyway, that's how it's going. I haven't wanted to stitch on it in a long time because it makes me a little sad because I don't like how the house looks. I think that's what's throwing me off the most. Anyway, so far I have spent 131 stitches on it this year. In total, I've done 1,669 stitches. I'm 4.84% of the way through this. I think that's all the stuff. And the pattern designer is Nara X Stitch Pattern on Etsy. And I want to stitch over here and stitch the other two ones in the whisper thread, but I don't know. I got kind of stuck on the house. I started stitching the house. I hated the colors. I ripped them out. I stitched them back in. I didn't like the colors, and then I gave up on it. So, I don't know. I want to come back to it, but it's been rough. Anyway, there are some sheep in some other months. October, November. So I could always pull out a different month to do, but I don't know. I don't know what to do. If you have suggestions, and it's not like I'm diverting from what the house like drastically says to do. It says to do a blue and orangey house. So I did a blue and orangey house, but if you have other suggestions, like I didn't do the DMC, I did do variegated, so maybe I should choose the DMC. But if you have other options, let me know. I think before I did like blue and purple, I think were the original ones that I did. And then I was like, maybe I should just go with what they recommend. Anyway, I had a bit of a crisis about that one. There's a reason I'm not a designer. The next one is Home in the Mountains. I've done 3 hours and 20 minutes. It's been 1.73% of my stitching time. Where are you? This is a golden kite, and the artist is Jerry Vanderstelt. Although Golden Kite doesn't disclose the artist, so I do wonder if this is pirated. That's just speculation, though. That's my alleged speculation. I don't know that for a fact, but I just think it's weird that they don't disclose the artist. When on most of their pieces they do, and then this one they don't. But the artist is Jerry Vanderstelt. And I've only done 875 stitches on it so far this year. Would help if I showed you what it looks like. And I'm only up in the corner. That's going to be a long time before I get to anything interesting. I, in total, have done 11,341 stitches. I'm only 3.27% of the way through this. If I want to get this done in the next, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years, like, I really need to step it up. It's just hard because I get so burnt out of these colors, especially when I've been stitching, where are you? This at the same time. I cannot stitch these in the same week. I cannot. So once this is done, this might come out, but this has kind of been in like a box of shame because of this. This has been the priority. But the next one I start, I'm definitely going to have to do like one of the more pinky ones or the more green ones. There are several more in the bluey, tealy color story. And I cannot do them because I need to get some work on this. And I need to prioritize this over those. Okay. My next one is, oh, fun. It's another one that I started during the spring Mingle. This is the Green Man. And I started this, oh no. Oh, I thought I had a screenshot of the actual picture, but I think I only have a screenshot of the actual pattern. So I'm just going to hold it back here and you won't be able to get anything from it. But that's what it looks like roughly. Okay, don't say anything. I spent 3 hours on it. It's 1.54% of my stitching time. I started it on the 3rd of this month. So it's very, very new. And it was great starting it during the spring mingle because I was having a crisis about the fabric because she suggests, oh, this is from Tuscan Cardinal. It's out of the Magical CrossStitch book. Magical spelled Magiccal. There's a K after the C. And it's by Lindsay Swearington. But she suggests black fabric. And I wanted it to look very like earthy and woodsy. And I was gonna do it on green fabric. But none of the fabrics I have were complementing the floss. And I could have changed the floss. But my brain has been feeling like it's been in a total meltdown for the past year. So I was just like, I don't have the brain capacity to change the floss. I mean, we see what has happened with my little sheep house. If I tried to change the floss, I think I would have had an aneurysm. So I was like trying to think of a fabric, and someone who I was in one of the rooms with at the spring mingle was like, instead of doing a green, since I couldn't find a green fabric that I liked, she's like, why don't you do like a brown to simulate like the bark of the forest or like dirt? And I was like, oh, you're so smart. And anyway, this is what it looks like. And I think it looks so good. I was like, ugh, I don't know why I didn't think about that, but I really like it. It's coming across like even warmer in the camera than it is in person. It's a little bit less like reddy orangey and a little bit more browny in person. But it looks really beautiful. And this is a 36 count, 1/2, which I normally don't do 1/2. I normally do 2/2 on 36 count, but I'm just taking a page out of Cam's book, and I just wanted to look very like blended and delicate and everything with this like woody vibe. And I'm really liking how it's coming together. I think this is the color Valor from Picture This Plus, but I can't be quoted on not on that. Anyway, next project. So next one, I'm gonna keep going, but this video is really long and I apologize for that. Okay, so Atlas and Goose, I have spent 3 hours on this one as well, and it's also been 1.54% of my stitching time. Sorry, trying to find the picture. I can't find the picture. Wait, let me go into Pattern Keeper and pull up a mock-up. Okay, this one is by Two Legs Make One X. And this is by the artist Amira the Drake. And this is what it looks like. Isn't that just one of the coolest things you ever did see? I love this piece, but I'm not very far into it. I've done 1,281 stitches on it so far this year, and that is out of 11,000, my total is 11,578 stitches. And my total is 7.73%. So I'm closing in on the 10% mark, but I still have a long way to go. I don't know. I'll get there. I'm just chipping away. This is one that it feels hard to work on or that it felt very hard to work on when I was working on Contessa with Squid, because for so long I was stuck in that black corner. But now that I've been stepping into the tentacles, it's been easier to get this out. Although there's a lot of dithering in here. I know like it looks like big chunks of black, but there's actually a lot of brown in there. So it's not just like fill in, fill in, fill in like Contessa is. It's like actually like, oh no, you have to count and skip and count and skip and count. I know I've heard some people say that they really hate dithering, but I like it. It just takes a little bit more brain power. Okay, so the next one is another water lilies piece. It's also by Sunset and Sea Design, and I have spent 2.5 hours on it. It's been 1.3% of my stitching time. And this one is, let me see. Okay, this is what this one looks like. And it is, so this is for a different sister. A third sister has hit the stadium. And this one has been my least favorite to stitch, and I did it to myself. It's because I'm doing full cross, and I just don't love full cross on very much. I was going to say on 28 count, but I just don't love full cross. Yeah, it is on 28 count. That is the suspect, because I'm just very bad at my stitches slipping. So I have not done a huge amount. You can see this is probably cut off of the same piece as that other one, because it's just a small little chunk. But this time I was more dignified, and I actually cut this off. But I have been slogging through this piece for just a very long amount of time. I started this September 2023, so it's been a year and a half, and I just have such a hard time getting myself to work on this piece. So I need to start doing something where it's like, either I need to just like power through and finish it in like a week or something, or I need to like start pulling it out for like an hour every month, every week or something. Okay, this one I've done 3 hours and 39 stitches on. I've done 1,144 stitches on it in total, and I'm only 40% of the way through it. So this one, it's like they're the same size. I mean, this one's 400 stitches smaller than the other one, but half cross and full cross just makes such a difference in my brain, even. Like, it's just so much less fun for full coverage for my brain on 28 count. I don't know why. I don't know why. I like full cross on like Ada. Because that's what like the Halloween pumpkin cottage is on. It's full cross on Ada, and I'm loving it. But and same thing with the Leonard Asimov or whatever his name is, also full cross on Ada. But it's just like my stitches slipping. I think I just get irritated very quickly, and your stitches don't slip if it's 2 over 1 on a 28 count. Okay, enough of this jibber jabber. Next we have Winter Baba Yaga / Conjuring Winter. It's called a couple different things. I think you'll find it if you search Winter Dragon Baba Yaga, but if you download the pattern, it's called Conjuring Winter. And it is from Lola Crow CrossStitch, or Lola Crow Designs, or whatever her name is. Lola Crow. We all know and love Lola Crow. And I also had this idea of like starting a Baba Yaga piece every month this year, and I did it in January, and then I didn't stitch at all in February, and then I just never got back on the train. Because if you miss something for 1 month or 1 week or 1 day, you can't get back on the horse. So, anyway, that's as far as I got. But maybe that's something I'll do next year. I fell off the bandwagon and then I was sad. But I've only done 321 stitches. Yeah, 321 stitches on it. I'm 11.63% of the way through it. And I love it. It's so fun. It's a headless dragon right now. And I think it's 40 count that I'm doing it on. So I'm doing it 1/2. And it's just like very teeny tiny. I've been very into the teeny tiny stitches this year. That's like all I've been in the mood for. Okay. And next is my arch nemesis. My least favorite project to stitch on, and the project that I always like think about how I would want to like UFO it if I didn't so badly want it on my wall. And that is Edwardian Moon by Night Spirit Studio. And I've only stitched on it for 2 hours and 23 minutes this year. It's been 1.24% of my stitching time. This project and I have beef. It is so beautiful. This is what it looks like. And I love it so much. I want it on my wall so badly. And I will not give up. I will not start over. I will not. But I'm only 22% of the way through. I've done 347 stitches on it so far this year. I'm 2,454 stitches into it. And I hate stitching on it. It's 18 count black Aida, so it's really hard to see through the holes. It shreds my floss. And my average stitches per hour, not that it's about like going the fastest and whatever, but it's just like I don't see a lot of progress on it. My average stitches per hour is like 136 stitches per hour, so it's like I can stitch for hours and only get a couple hundred stitches in. And I don't know, it's just not very fun for me. Like even a stroll under the rain, the one by Leonard Avramov, is 174 stitches per hour. Like, it's not that much more, but it feels like that much more. And since the process isn't enjoyable, it's just excruciating. So, I don't know what to do. It's supposed to take me 61 more hours to finish, which is like, oh great, just do like an hour a week and it will be done in a year. Or do 2 hours a week and you'll get it finished by the end of the year. Or something like that. But it's like, I don't want to torture myself by pulling it out every week. But I know I should. But it's like, I would rather not cross-stitch than cross-stitch this. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should just like do a temporary UFO and just put it away for a while. But the reason I want to get it done so badly, because it's like, oh, then just chip away at it occasionally. Why do you want to get it done? Is because it's my oldest project. I started it the 1st of January 2023. It's my oldest project. It's 2.5 years old. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with projects being old and lingering, but it's like not even that big of a project. It's less than 11,000 stitches. It's just the fabric combination. It's just the fabric. Like, that is the issue with this project. There's nothing wrong with the rest of it. So, anyway, there's me bitching about this project for probably 5 minutes. I hate it. I don't hate the project. I hate working on the project. And it's literally just because I hate the fabric. And I don't stitch on black Aida anymore. Black even weave, black linen, black anything else, gray, anything. I will do anything, but black Aida, I don't know if I would ever touch that again. I just don't enjoy it, and it's 18 count, so it's even smaller, and it just shreds my fabric. It is not fun to stitch on. If I was to start it over now, I would probably do 2/2 on like, what would I do now? If I was starting this project now, I would probably do 1/2 on like a black 40 count. Which maybe sounds crazy, but like, that's just way more fun for me. Or maybe I would do 2/2 on like a black 32 count, like a linen or something. Anyway, but I hadn't even stitched over 2 when I started this project, which is why I do think it's good for me personally not to start a bunch of things. Well, I started like 5 projects in the last week, but I barely started anything this year. But I think it's good for me personally not to start a lot of things at the same time, because and not also to buy a lot of like fabric, because my taste is always changing and I'm always wanting to try different things. And like right now I'm really into 40 count. Like 40 count is almost all I want to stitch on, is 40 count and 46 count. I'm just very into tiny stitches. And I have a lot of 32 count. And every time I try to put a stitch into it, I just kind of go, eh, because the stitches are really big. And it's not that I think the stitching is ugly or bad or inferior or anything. It's just not as enjoyable for me. And I don't know. It's just interesting. And so it's like any projects I'm starting right now, I just want to be very like dainty and tiny unless I'm doing something specific. Like the project I'm doing for my sister, I specifically asked her like how big she would want it to be, what she would want it to look like, etc. And then that's what I pursued. But for like me and what I'm looking for, I would probably stitch it a little different. Anyway, but I'm not starting over because I'm already that far in, and you're probably, I don't know. Anyway, I'll move on. I'll move on. Okay, my next project, I've only done 2 hours on. It's been 1% of my stitching time. It's called Fight Me. And it is, let's see. It is from the Etsy store StitchyLittleFox, although I don't know if they exist anymore. If you don't like bad words, well, 1, you probably shouldn't watch me anyway because I do swear, but then 2, this says, "Fight me, you long ass bitch." And it is for a friend of mine. But good thing I never promised it by a certain date because I've been stitching on it for over 2 years and it's been languishing. And it's really close to being done. It's at 78%. I've done 429 stitches on it so far this year. And I've done 1,610 stitches on it in total. I started it in January 2023. I could finish it in 3 hours is what my tracker says. It says if I spent 3 hours on it, it would be done. Why don't I do that? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Okay, my next project, this is so fun. This is my first project I ever tried 40 count on. It's called Mermaid's Folly, and it's from the Courtney collection. And this is what it looks like. I first saw this from Animal Instinct. Kelly from Animal Instinct. She started right in the middle, so you can already see the mermaid, and it's incredible. I've started up in this corner, so you can see like this, the first curl, and then the start of the wings. But I've barely done anything. But I've spent an hour and 44 minutes on it, and it's been 0.9% of my stitching time. And it's my first project I did on 46 count. I don't know what this fabric is. I probably have a card laying around somewhere, but I know it was $37. Isn't that helpful? Okay. And that's what I've done so far. And I really like stitching on it. Stitching on this, I was like, ooh, I love it. This is what made me want to, stitching on this is what made me know that I could stitch on 46 count for this one. And now I want to stitch everything on 46 count because I just love how tiny the stitches are. And it's good because I don't like stitching over one on 28 count very much because my stitches slip. And I know there's like a way you can do it so that they don't slip. And I know I should look that up because I do struggle with that, but I probably won't do that. I don't know. I'm a mess, you guys. It feels like a lot of effort. I don't want to do that. Okay, my next project is the lavender grower. This was the freebie from the spring Mingle. I spent an hour and a half on it, although I probably spent more and just didn't track it. But since I barely got any progress on it, I'm not going to add that in. And that was 0.82% of my stitching time. This is from stitchyprose. Yeah. stitchyprose. It's so cute. I would have loved to finish it during the retreat. And I would have if it had worked in Pattern Keeper or Markup RXP. But it didn't, and since I don't have a printer, trying to work off the tablet without that actually made my brain feel like it was getting like ripped in half. But that's how much I did. That took me an hour and well, that probably took me closer to like 3 hours. But I'm not gonna actually count that because I was like, I think I forgot to hit play and it's fine. I'm not gonna count that. Anyway, I barely did any, but I'll try to finish this up. Maybe by the end of the month. That would be a good goal to get this done, like the same month that the Mingle happened. This is on 40 count fiber on a whim milk and honey, by the way, in case you were wondering. Okay, next project is we're getting there. We're close. We only have like 10 projects left. Told you there's a lot of a little. An hour and 20 minutes. I'm gonna stop saying the percentage though because these are all like 0.7% is this one, and then everything is less than that. So it's like barely anything. But I'll say the amount of time. So an hour and 20 minutes. My husband and I did a Lord of the Rings marathon. So I wanted to stitch on all my Lord of the Rings pieces during that. This was in January or February. It wasn't February because I didn't stitch it all in February. So it must have been in January. So I did stitch on Welcome to Erebor. I did stitch on Home in the Mountains. And then I have a couple more Lord of the Rings pieces to show you that I've stitched on. I think just 2 more. And I have some more that I want to start. And this is one of the ones that I have. I love this piece. This is Green Hills by Reolus. Look at how stunning that is. Is that not just one of the best charts you have ever seen in your life? I love it so much. This is my only chart on 14 count because I hate 14 count with a passion. But since this is the like wool threads, wool and acrylic blend, and they're thicker than DMC. I figured I couldn't switch it to like a 16 or an 18 count because then they wouldn't fit through the holes. But that's what I've done so far. I don't know my percentage, but I think it looks good. And next is Caterpillar Lad. This is from Kaylee Tent Stitch / The Sewing Shop. It's a complete color conversion by me. And I don't have the artist written down for some reason. Let's look that up. Thankfully, I have her thing linked. It is by Brooklyn Stormy. Perfect. Sorry, let me just pull it up. I think I have it. I should have it. I do not have it. Because you need to have it with the background, otherwise, yeah, there it is. Or their little eyes disappear. But this is what it looks like. I'm doing the no background version. And I've only spent an hour on it, like I said. An hour and 20 minutes. So, we'll see. It's coming along. Like you said, I was trying, like you can see, I was working on their head, and then I gave up. I was just having a hard day. It wasn't because of the linen or anything. I started putting it in, and then I was like, ugh, I don't want to work on this. And then I set it aside. You can barely see the ones that are in here. You can see them really well in person. It is just this lighting that makes you not be able to see those, but there are branches in right there. Anyway, I am 20... How far am I into this? Oh no, I'm 37% of the way through this. I didn't know I was that far. Oh, it's probably going to take me like 10 more years to finish this. Let's be real. And I've only done 421 stitches this year out of 6,000, and my total is 6,569 stitches. But there's 17,744 stitches in total, which is just honestly an alarming amount of stitches if you think about it. Which is maybe wild to say when you see how big some of my other projects are, but I don't know. It feels different when it's like big blocks of like thread versus like confetti. I don't know. Confetti's just, I'm telling you, my brain just thinks confetti's no big deal, and then when it's something, I don't know, things that other people would find easier, I'm like, oh, this is so intimidating. Okay, my next piece, I was trying to find a picture and I couldn't, so let me grab this. So No Time Like the Present, this is by Modern Folk Embroidery. Oh, isn't it beautiful? And I barely spent any time on this, which is devastating. In total, I've only spent 4 hours on this, which is maybe the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. 4 hours on this beauty? Criminal. And this, I've spent an hour and 10 minutes on it this year. Devastating. I'm only this far into it, which I feel like is good progress for 4 hours. But I need to spend more time on it because it is very fun to stitch, very beautiful. I'm 2.31% of the way into it. I've done 245 stitches on it this year. In total, I've done 824 stitches on it this year. And I need to pick up my effing pace because it is an incredibly stunning chart. And I'm sorry for the drastic lighting change and possibly an angle change. My storage filled up because I just have been yapping for so long. So I took a dinner break. I'm back though, and I remember what I was saying was just that there are so many modern folk embroidery pieces that I want to stitch that I need to not be lingering on these pieces that I really love and want to stitch because it's making it so that I'm never going to start the other pieces that I want to start, just because I don't want to have like 100 whips at once. I don't care if other people do that, but it's just not something that I personally want. I have 51 right now, although I have so many that are like really, really close to finishing. And I think I'm about at my limit. I think I would prefer to be closer to like maybe 40. So we'll see, but I also did just start like 5 or 6. I was closer to 40 before, and then I started a bunch just because I was feeling kind of uninspired, but I need to pull out things like this more because it's so beautiful. Okay, next one. Merry Mushroom Village Picnic. This is Heaven and Earth Designs, and the artist is Amy Stewart. I've only spent an hour on this so far this year, which is really sad, and it is my biggest piece. An hour and 5 minutes. And I am 0.81%. I think this is my only piece that I'm like less than 1% into, which is also sad. I'm right up here in this top corner. And I would really love to get to the point where that bee and fairy come in, because that would be really fun. But I'm like, I don't want to say nowhere near that, because like I am near it, but I'm not like near it. Like if I did just sit down and stitched on it for like maybe 10 or 20 hours, like they would probably come in. But again, I was doing my normal like stitching until I didn't feel like continuing on with that thread, and then I would park it or end it. And then I tried to get into the more firm columns or diagonal columns or whatever, diagonals. And it just, I think it was stressing me out, which is why I stopped. So I need to get back into this, work these in, and then it will go better. But I mean, you can see I'm right here, which is right here. And then once I finish that, then I'm like, they're right there. I want to see them. And I started this just to have like a big, beautiful, colorful project. But now I'm stitching on that Leonid Avramov piece, which is giving me kind of the same desire that I had with this, although this is going to be a long-term piece. I don't start any projects without the intention of finishing them, and I do intend on finishing this, but this is the only project that I have going that I don't really care when I finish it. Everything else that I have stitching, I would like to finish in the next like 20 years. And I know it's possible, even if I just stitch, like, I know I can stitch 500 stitches a day, especially since a lot of my bigger projects are half cross. I know I can finish them, even if, including this piece, if I stitch 500 stitches a day, I could finish everything in the next 5 years. But, not 5 years, into the next 20 years. I know I could do that, the 500 stitches. But I know I'm going to start other pieces. I know there's going to be even other full coverage pieces I start. And I just want to have like a lot of pieces that I start that are full coverage are not colorful. They have a lot of blacks and browns and are very like monotone and stuff, which I love. It's my aesthetic. I have a lot of green in my house. I'm sure you can guess and tell that green is my favorite color. And like I'm happy about that, but it is fun to have something to stitch on that's just like fun and colorful, and I don't know. So this is one that I'm like, I'm okay stitching on this for an indefinite amount of time, although I would like to finish it, but that's why it's like not progressing as much as my other full coverages. But someday I hope to finish it. I just need to start getting in like a couple percent a year so that it doesn't take me 100 years because I will not be living that long, unfortunately. Okay, the next project is Visit Kanto. This is by GlitchStitch AU, and this is one of my Pokemon pieces. Here it is. And I dyed a fabric to be the background blue so that I was just not stitching that and stitching everything else, including the water blue. I'm fine stitching everything except for that background blue. And I've, again, only done like an hour on this, but I've done 307, Merry Motion Village Picnic. I've only done 114 stitches this year, and I've done 5,796 stitches in total. And then for this one, I've done 378 stitches this year, and I've done 2,922 stitches in total. And that's what I've done so far. So I've completed, I'd say, about half the clouds because the Dragon Knight is most of the clouds. But I still do have other clouds. And then I've finally started on the island. So this is the called for, and then this is just an overdyed that I ended up getting. And then these are the called fors. I did rip out some of my stitches. They were right here. That I did have some overdyed in for the blue of the water. And I hated how they looked so much that I wasn't stitching on this piece. So I finally went in and ripped them out. And then I don't know if I'm going to go for the called for or if I'm going to do a different kind of overdyed. I don't know. But I do like how the clouds turned out because I think it gives a nice cloud-like effect on this floss. But I'm 25.14%, but that's only of the stuff that I'm going to stitch. If you included everything, including like the blue, if I had filled it in, I'd probably be closer to like 40%, but I always take that out when I'm calculating just because, again, I feel like I'm cheating. And then it throws off my like stitches per hour calculations. Okay, my next project is my other long dog sampler. This is Dilemma by Long Dog Sampler. And oh, I almost clicked on the wrong one. So this one I don't actually have an accurate stitch count for because the point of this one is you do this outer border bit and then you choose 9 of these 16 and put them in there. And that's the dilemma. So they're gonna read in as 2 separate charts. So I only have this one loaded into my software. So this is 19,111 stitches. Oh, I just realized I never actually loaded in. It says that I have worked on this for an hour, but I never actually went and looked at how many stitches I did on this. So, oops. But I'm 7.72% of the way through that section. So not like the other ones, but not the insert pictures, but only that section. So it's kind of hard to like estimate like how far I actually am through the project, nor have I actually decided which sections I'm going to put in there. Here, but let me just update this really quick. So I've done 1,760, which means I've done 284 stitches this year in that 1 hour, which, I mean, like, damn, that's really good. It's really fast for me to stitch on. Here, let me show you what I've actually stitched. Oh, come on. And I have written down that my fabric, what am I saying? My floss is, do I have it written down? I do not have it written down, but I know I have it in a previous video. I feel like it's called like Absinthe or something. I got it on Etsy, but this is, I guess, like almost 3/4 of that first section done. Anyway, I love working on this, and it's like a 40 count, but it's just regular linen, like from Joann, R.I.P. But I just got a regular huge piece of linen, and then I'm stitching over that. And it's like much itchier than any other type of linen I've ever stitched on. But I do want to stitch on this more, and I really love stitching on it. It's very fun to stitch on, mostly just because the motifs are so cute. Like, I am the kind of person, I know a lot of people will like not stitch the thing that they like first in the piece because then they're bored stitching, but I actually like stitching the thing that I like a lot because then I have something fun to look at when I'm stitching. Am I alone in that? Let me know if you're that kind of stitcher too. I like stitching the fun thing first because then it's like motivating to look at it while I'm stitching. That's very fun for me. I think it's because I have aphantasia. I can't picture things. And so when I'm just looking at the small part of the chart and I haven't done anything fun yet, like, it's just like, ugh, I don't know. I don't have that excitement because I can't picture the chart. If I close my eyes, I can't see anything. I can't picture anything. It's just total blackness. I can't even, like, picture my husband's face. Like, I don't have that. I never been able to picture anything ever in my whole life. Like, I can conceptualize things, like, I understand things, but I just can't picture them. So I think that's why I love stitching the fun thing first, just so that I have something to look at and it like motivates me to stitch and makes the project more fun for me. And every time I see those little elephants when I'm stitching, it just like fills my soul with so much happiness. Anyway, aren't you so glad you're here? Okay. The next project, okay, so I was gonna skip that one just because it's from a company that I don't like to talk about. The One Ring is next. So this one is from CircusStitches. I got it on Etsy, and it is, oh, come on. Tablet, stop it, please. It's like, you have been filming for too long. I know you took a break, but this is still too long. And I would agree. I swear my next video is going to be substantially shorter. Excuse me. And now I've eaten, so I'm like getting hiccups. Okay, so here's the next one. I've only worked on this one. I worked on this one because of the Lord of the Rings marathon, but I only worked on it for 45 minutes. And then I was like, okay, I did not like that experience very much, so I stopped. It's not very fun to work on. I would say this is the only other project that I don't really love working on, but I want the final piece. And I'm willing to push through to get the final piece, but I think this is another one that I'm gonna have to start like just doing like half an hour at a time because it's that bad. But here it is. And it's the Elvish on the outside with the English on the inside from Lord of the Rings. But I'm doing it on a 40 count, which is not the issue. But I'm doing it with a metallic. It's the DMC, the ones that come in the spools. And you can barely see what I've done. Yeah, now you can see it. But I wanted it to look like the ring was like either thrown in the fire or thrown in the fires of Mount Doom, like one of the two. And then the words are coming out. And like you can see it in person. It's not as hard to see in person as it is on there, but I just thought it would be such a cool effect. And so that's what I'm doing, but stitching with that metallic is not fun. So it's just like I'll do a little bit and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done. And I only did 50 minutes or 40 minutes and then I was like, okay, I'm done. And I need to pull it out again. I should, once I have chipped away some of my other pieces, this is one that I should start pulling out like once a month or once every other week or something like that, so I can just like get a strand in. And I just need to start like doing that just so it gets some progress. But the good thing is that it's a very small pattern. The whole thing is only 5,279 stitches. The entire thing, I've only spent 3 hours on it in total. And my total progress for the whole project is 426 stitches. So I'm still doing over 100 stitches an hour. It's not like my stitching on it is very slow. It's not slower than like black fabric. It's just not very fun. So I just need to like build up a tolerance. Okay, here we go. The last project, I've only just started it, so don't think that my amount of work on it has anything to do with how little work has gone onto it. But this is Blueberry Harvest by Jessica Doizé, aka JedxStitch, and this is from Just CrossStitch, the summer edition, 2025. So this is the current edition of Just CrossStitch. I love this so much. It's a little bird wearing a hennin. A hennin is like the princess hat. I'm obsessed. I saw this and I about lost my ever-loving mind. And like I said, I have been really adverse to big stitches. I just really want to stitch on nothing smaller than like a 40 count. Or a 20 count. The equivalent of 20 count. And I'm also trying not to buy fabric unless it's absolutely necessary. Like this project, I have nothing to stitch it on. Like I can make nothing work. And so I was going through and I was trying to find something similar to the blue fabric. And I found this light purple in my stash. And I'm like, oh, great. But it's a 32 count. It's from Atomic Ranch. But I was like, I pulled it to stitch as a 32 count over 2. And I was gonna do that. And then I was like, but what if I didn't? And so I started stitching it over 1. And I think it's a much better over 1 piece for me right now. But I've only stitched on it for 40 minutes because I started it and then the next day I started this. So I've literally only started this a couple days ago. I started it on the, probably, I don't know, like the 9th or something? Let's see. Oh, I started it on the 8th. And then I just haven't picked it back up because I've been very distracted. And there we go. So I've barely done anything, but I really love how tiny these stitches are. I mean, 32 count over 1 is like about as small as you can go with DMC floss. Just because anything smaller than that, the DMC is just going to be too bulky. But anyway, it's really fun. The next thing I need to do is just fill in the blue there. But yeah, this is, I don't remember what it's called, but it's something like Lilac Morning or something by Atomic Ranch. But I was going to stitch over 2, and then I was about to, and I was just like, I can't bring myself to stitch on like a 16 count right now. I just cannot. And so over 1 it was. Anyway, that's the last thing. I just have to, well, that's the last thing that I have in my tracker. I just have to say that I think JedxStitch / Jessica Doizé, I think is one of the most brilliant designers of our age. Like, currently designing designers and my favorite designers, Jessica Doizé is definitely up there. This is my first thing I'm ever stitching by her though, and that is a crying shame because absolutely brilliant. And when I saw that, I was like, this has to be my first one. Incredible, incredible. Okay, so I have 2 more pieces, but they are not in my tracker because I don't track my time on them because I only stitch on them if I'm not in my house. So when I'm out of my house and I'm only stitching on these for 5 minutes at a time, I'm not like pulling out my phone and going on my tracker app and doing that and then stitching. And then a lot of times when I'm stopping stitching on these, it's like very abrupt. It's like I'm waiting for a doctor's appointment or I'm waiting for something and then I get called and then I wouldn't have time to like stop it. So I don't track these at all. But I'm going to show them to you, and I've made a lot of progress on them this year, so I'm proud and I'm still going to show you. So the first one is the Prairie Schooler. So this is what all 6 of them look like. This is how it comes. So if you're looking for this, the Prairie Schooler, Prairie Fairies, this is what it looks like. And then the one that I'm stitching is the Prairie Fairy Garden Fairy. And I really like this design, this pattern, but I do not like this color choice. I started it almost 2 years ago, and I don't like the color choice at all. Like, at all. I started this June 3rd, 2023, so it has been like almost exactly 2 years. And it has been the #1 reason why this isn't finished yet. It just kind of gives, I don't know, it just kind of icks me out, and I don't know why. But I remember putting in the fairy, like the colors of like her hat and her dress and skirt and everything, and just going, bleh. And I wish I had done a color conversion, but I was such a new stitcher when I started this. I didn't really know what to do. But since, I don't know, probably since January, I've probably done this part down plus the entire head and this flower. So almost half of what's there, definitely like a third of it, has been done. And there's really not very much left. It's just the back end of this, I almost called it a squirrel. Okay, it's time to go to bed. Back end of the snail, there's another flower, and then there's another butterfly, the fairy's hand, and a flower. And that's it. I've even done the drops, and I finished the watering can this year. Like, I've done a lot on it this year. I just decided, suck it up, even though I don't like the colors. I just wanted to get it finished, and it's nice to have something on Ada to stitch while I'm out of the house, and hardly anything I'm stitching anymore is on Ada. And I think this is the only thing that I'm stitching on Ada that doesn't have a pattern besides my next one. I mean, it doesn't have a pattern. That isn't on a digital pattern. Like, I stitch everything on Pattern Keeper, except for a couple, like you can, a lot of the things that I've started in the past week, the reason I wanted to start them was because they're paper patterns, and I just wanted more paper patterns. I think I had like 4 out of like the 50, and I just wanted a little bit more diversity. But this will be probably done in the next couple weeks, just because I'm really trying to push. Because I just kind of sick of it, to be honest. And then the next one, I don't even need a before picture because it's so freaking close to being finished. But this is the Alice and the Caterpillar from Bad Stitch. This was an original Patreon release. Here, let me put it on this. Back in the spring, I think this was the April release. of 2023, but it's now on Bad Stitches. I think it's probably on their Ko-fi possibly as well, but it's definitely on their Etsy because I was trolling around there and I saw it. But I'm mostly done with it. Literally the only stitches that I have left are the stitches in Alice's dress. And I mean, it's like 12 stitches or something. I've even put in, oh, just kidding. There's a couple stitches as well. I need to do the black stitches of Alice's shoes. But I'm pretty much done with this stitch. It's a beautiful stitch. I've really enjoyed stitching it. It's a lot of colors for such a small pattern. I think it's like 22 or 24 colors. Which is a lot, but 98% of this pattern has been stitched at Disneyland. I stitch in line at rides. So it has taken me, I started this the same day as this one, but I've stitched all of this in line at Disneyland. And I just stitch and walk, and the black fabric isn't a problem at all because everything is really well lit there typically, and I have just my little book light that I clip on to my thing. So I just put it in my little hoop and I clip my book light on, and it's black lit enough. Even though it's a really dark fabric, it's so easy to stitch on, way better than the black fabric. It's like a really dark purple. And I just stitch and walk. I usually try to get my husband to walk in front of me because just in case I do stop becoming like, in case I'm like not 100% paying attention to like when the person stops walking in front of me, like I walk in him and not a random person. But like it doesn't happen that often. I don't know, I just don't really struggle with it. People are always like, how do you stitch in line? I don't know, I just like stitch and walk. I don't know, I just do, and I don't find it that hard. But I love this pattern so much. I think it is just great. Although putting in these confettis in the smoke and up here and down here was not very fun in line at Disneyland because it was just a lot of counting, so it took a long time. But we're going to be going to Disneyland this week for my husband's birthday, so I should be finishing this week, and I hope to finish it on the Alice ride, which is where I started it. I started it in line at the Alice ride. I hope to finish it in line at the Alice ride, and it will just be a whole full circle moment, almost exactly 2 years apart. And then I'm gonna have to bring something else to Disneyland, and I think I might start another Alice pattern, or I could just bring one of my other patterns, but I don't know. And that's it. That is everything that I've been stitching on, and those two are not tracked at all because I just don't have the time, nor do I care enough. I do have exactly 20 projects that have not been stitched on at all this year, which I think is sad. I would like them to get stitched on. And so I'm going to, if you're just here for the actual stitching progress, thank you so much. Goodbye. I appreciate it. And then really quickly, I think I'm just going to pull out, these are the projects that haven't been worked on at all yet. I think I'm just going to pull out 5 of these randomly. And then over the next, I'm not going to finish all of these over the next week. But I think I'm just going to do a rotation that if any of these catch my interest, I just have the option and luxury to work on them. And then once they hit 5 hours, I can move it in with another one of these and just get all of these to 5 hours sometime until they all are. And I don't know. I'm like, I did see what was on the ends and stuff, so I'm like, let's mix them up a little bit. But I'm just, sorry if this is really loud, but these are just all my extra projects, and they need love. But I think a rotation of 5 would be good. It's like enough to choose from to give me choice, but also not enough that I'm like, oh, that's so many. I'm like, maybe I should do 3 instead, but maybe I'll start with 3, and then if it's not interesting. Okay, so this one, I'll show you the full pictures next week, but this is all I have done on it. I think it's probably from 2x2 stitch art, but I'm not positive. But it's just a little sampler on green. Let's do this one on the end. Oh. No. Okay, you can tell I don't want to work on it. Okay, I think I'm going to nix this one just because I love myself. Because it is on Black Ada, and if I'm trying to work on my other one, this is Naja's from Night Spirit Studio. But if I'm trying to work on my other one on black, I cannot have another Black Ada one out. So I'm going to nix this one. Just for now, because I am going to try to put a couple of hours into that one this week. What is this one? Okay, this one is St. George and the Dragon. This is another one that I'm stitching for my mom. And I'm about a third of the way through, probably. There's like a whole horse and dragon behind him, underneath him, so there's a lot to do still. And this is on 28 count, so like, I'm fine with big stitches. It's just like I'm not compelled to start anything big. Anyway. 2. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is what is it called? The Soul of a Rose. This is a tiny little, this is my smallest full coverage as far as stitches, but I'm stitching it 40 count, 1/1 half cross, and I don't love the experience of stitching it. It's a Verdal, and I think 40 count's just a little too small for me. 28 count is definitely my favorite. I like 36 count 1/1 half cross, but 40 count is just like, it's too bulky. But I'm okay finishing it. I'm already like 8% through or something. And I'm getting 5 hours into that will make a lot of progress. I don't think that's enough variety. I do think I want a couple more. This one's so fun! Okay, I've been thinking about pulling this one out. It is the Haunted Carousel from the Witchy Stitcher. I'm gonna make it pink instead of teal and orange. And this is on a 32 count. And final one. Okay, I know what this is. I'm not sure I'm in the mood for it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't know why I'm southern now, sorry. This is my Pokemon, I think it's like Pokemon Color Wheel. And this is Jinx, and this is, I almost called it Seeking. But this is 1/1 half cross on 32 count. So it is, I think the coverage is still like good, but it's not incredible. It is like an interesting texture looking, but it's good enough. Those margins aren't great though. Okay, and there we go. Those are my 5 pieces. So I'll stitch on them, and then once one of them hits 5 hours, I will switch another one in. Okay, and then finally, the last thing I wanted to do is just kind of talk about like my goals for the week, because I'm going to be back in another week. You better watch it. So one thing I did want to say is I pulled the fabric card for this one. It's, yeah, so it's Vintage Needle Arts, 46 count linen in milkweed. So if you're looking for this very nice green color, it's in milkweed. I really recommend. And I think that was it. milkweed. I like it. But I would like to finish 3 more squares every day, which hopefully we should see a lot of progress on that with that, because 3 times 7, 21 squares of this. I've already done 20, so this should like double in size. I would like to finish this. I literally only have an hour left to work on it. I should finish this. I should get more progress on this. I would like to finish it this month, so I should like try to parse out how much I need to do each day to get it done. I think I can suck it up and do 2 hours on this week, so I just need to do it. I need to do 1100 stitches on it this week in order to get it complete. So I think I'm just going to aim for doing like 3 hours and just like overachieve my goal, because that would be around 1200 stitches, maybe more. I would like to do 1000 stitches on this, which is really wrong. There we go. I'd like to do about 1,000 stitches on this. I can do a little bit more, but that would be my goal. And then I would like to do 7 strands of thread on this. And I can do a strand of thread in half an hour. And my entire time on this project, I can do a strand of thread in half an hour. It's just like exactly, whether I'm doing backstitch or full cross or whatever, it is clockwork. So I'm just going to keep going with that. So hopefully I work 3.5 hours on it this week, but 7 strands, hopefully. And I don't know if I'm going to keep going over here and finish this corner. It's like right here is the corner, or if I'm going to move back over here and just, I don't know. We'll see. And that's it for my plans. And, oh, as far as reading this week, I have been trying to get back into reading. 2-3 years ago, well, basically since 2016, so 2015, I probably read like 160, 70 books, something like that, 150, 60 books. 2016, I read 160 books. And then every year since 2016, I have read over 150 books, somewhere around like 200 to 300 books every year. Voracious reader. And then since October 2023, I just couldn't read anymore. Like, I've been reading occasionally here and there, but I just feel like so much, I don't know. I've been feeling a lot of grief and devastation, and I just feel like so much of my brain power has been used up. And I don't know. I barely read anything in last year and this year. And I'm just trying to get back into reading. And so my goals for this week, these are the books I'm going to be reading, but also the books I'm reading can always change any moment, because I'm a voracious DNFer, which stands for did not finish. If I'm not liking a book, I'm not going to read the book. It just is what it is. So the first thing is I'm listening to Overgrowth by Mira Grant. It is Mira Grant's newest book. It just came out on the 6th. And I really like Mira Grant. I mean, I haven't read too many of her things, but I have read her 2 books in the, her like horror mermaid series, Into the Drowning Deep. If you're going to read that series, read the novel first, the number 1 in the series, and then read the 0.5 in the series, because it kind of like spoils some stuff in the big series, or in the big book. But I really love that. And then Mira Grant is her pen name, or vice versa, is Shauna McGuire. So I have read like 8 of the books in the Wayward Children series, which is like a magical realm like series. So I've read like 8 of those. So I have read a lot of her books, but she's a very prolific author. So I haven't read like a lot of her other stuff. I've only read like 10 of her books. So I saw a new horror book and I was like, yes, give me some Mira Grant. That sounds nice. Although it's about like plant aliens, and it's very gruesome at the beginning. Like, definitely content warnings for like a graphic child death at the beginning of the book. And I was like, oh, Mira, what are you doing? But it is necessary for the story. And if it wasn't necessary for the story, I would be annoyed, but it's necessary for the story. So, anyway, there we go. And then the other books is I am going to try to start physically reading Snow White and Rose Red by Patricia C. Reedy. Patricia C. Reedy wrote one of my favorite series, The Enchanted Forest Chronicles. The first book is Dealing with Dragons, but I haven't read a lot of her other books, so I would love to read that. And then I would also like to try to listen to, but I have the physical book, My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich by Evie Zaboy, which is another kind of spacey book. Well, she's interested in like science and space. So it's kind of a nice sort of theme with these two. And then that's obviously a retelling of Snow White and Rose Red, if you don't know. Not Snow White as in like Seven Dwarfs Snow White, but Snow White as in the sister of Rose Red and the bear. Two different fairy tales. So anyway, that's what I plan on reading. And then just final thoughts. If you've made it this far, if you want to leave like a mushroom emoji, that would mean a lot to me. I just feel like I'm in desperate need of some like community. I have had a very rough year. A lot of my time spent here the past year. My stitching last year wasn't even as high as I would have liked it to be, and then my stitching this year hasn't been very high. I think it's two things. That one, it's like when I'm not feeling great mentally, I feel like I need to deprive myself of things that I like to do, because it's like, oh, you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be having fun. And then the other thing is like, there have been a lot of days that my chronic migraines and chronic pain has been really high, and there have been a lot of days where I'm sleeping like 12 to 18 hours a day, just because I cannot function. That was a lot last summer and last fall, and I've been feeling a lot better the last few weeks, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to feeling mentally better, but feeling physically better does help me feel mentally better, obviously. So yeah, hopefully I can be consistent on here again. But anyway, I appreciate any of you who have stuck around for any amount of time, and I hopefully will see you in a week. Bye, everyone.